All right. All right. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Easton and Councilwoman Ferguson for that second. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam President.
Councilman Herring?
I don't see my piece of legislation on here that I submitted for the public hearing.
That legislation has not been put on the agenda. Since the motion has been accepted and second, we'll take a consensus to see if this if your resolution wants to come to the table. What is your resolution again, Mr. Herring?
No consensus is needed. The charter gives me absolute right to introduce any legislation at any meeting. I'll just wait for the public hearing for it to come to the table. I have that right to. So we can go ahead and move on. I have a right to have it introduced. I don't need consent of the council. The
All
charter
right,
gives
thank
me
you,
consent.
Councilman Herring. Council Clerk, would you please take the roll for the adoption of the agenda?
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
No.
Councilwoman Smallwood,
I'm gonna say no because each council person has the right to submit something to be on the agenda. And it's not left up to the council president to decide exactly what should be on the agenda. Even though she has the right to verify the agenda, but she cannot stop anybody from bringing legislation to the floor. So if his legislation was given in time to be on the agenda, it should be on the agenda. So therefore, I'm going to write no because this is inappropriate.
Thank you, Councilwoman Smallwood. Council Clerk, please continue.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilson,
No.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
We have 4 yeses and 3 nos.
Thank you, Council Clerk. Okay. The next item on the agenda will be the review of the minutes. Those minutes being December the 11th, 2020, a special regular meeting. December 14th, 2020, a regular meeting. December 15th, 2020, public hearing. January 4th, 2021, work session. January 6th, 2021, a special work session. January 6th, 2021, executive session closed. And January 11th, 2021, a regular meeting. I did notice an email was sent to the council clerk pertaining to some of the minutes. I hope those will be corrected or been looked at. Councilwoman Easton, I'm sorry.
Yes, I sent a note to the council clerk. The minutes from December the 14th, she identified that Councilwoman Smallwood had voted yes to Resolution R-15, 2021, resolution authorizing the appointment of Timothy E. George as the city manager to Glenarden. And Councilwoman Smallwood actually abstained. She did not vote yes. So your tally should actually be yes 6, abstain 1, instead of 7 yes passed.
Okay.
And that's for the
I did
January
receive this
14th meeting.
email.
Okay, and then the second one was January 11th. During citizens' comments, Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery, he specifically identified 3 council members who sent letters to citizens that should be included in the minutes because he actually stated those council members' names. And that would be Councilman Herring, Councilwoman Smallwood, and Councilwoman Wilson. I would like to request those be included in the minutes since Mr. Montgomery stated those names specifically when he made his comment.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
other,
Council President,
Councilwoman
Council
Smallwood?
President. Yes, the minutes is only supposed to show actions that was taken. There was no action taken, so those names should not be included in the minutes.
Councilwoman Eason?
The statement that is in the minutes already that Ms. Clerk, that the council clerk wrote is Richard Arroyo Montgomery addressed that this is the third attempt to censor Mayor Estes. Also addressed a letter that was mailed out that mentioned his name with false statement from 3 council members. That's what's included in the minutes. But I would like to also include the 3 council members' name because he actually stated those names in his comment.
As I stated before, there is, that whole comment should not be in the minutes because the minutes are not showing any type of action. So the minutes are only supposed to show actions and not supposed to show personal conversations.
That was, Council President,
Councilwoman Eason?
that comment was actually under citizens' comment. What I would like to do is get a council consensus to include those 3 names in these minutes.
All right. Council Clerk, would you take the roll for consensus to add these 3 names to the minutes?
And that's the minutes from January 11, 21 to include in his statement because he did state those names.
Okay, Council Clerk, it'll be January 11th, 2021 minutes. Consensus to add those 3 names to those minutes.
Yes, ma'am. I have that noted.
Thank you. But you have to take a
You have
consensus.
to take the consensus, I'm sorry.
I
You're
had
taking it.
forwarded and you kind of made a note for me,
I'm sorry.
but okay, I can do that. Councilwoman Eason,
Yes,
Okay.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Smallwood,
No,
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilson,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
I have four yeses, 1 no, and 2 abstain.
Council President, I would like to make a motion that that whole section be taken out of the minutes because that section is not showing any type of action that was taken by the council. So I'm making a motion that that whole section be taken out.
Those
Second.
minutes have already been
Council President, the same way you let Deborah Easton add those 3 names and I'm making the same request to have that whole section taken out.
okay. The motion has been accepted by Councilwoman Smallwood. I think the second was by Councilman Herring. Council Clerk, please take the roll to have those names, to have that section removed, a consensus to have that removed.
The whole section.
Councilwoman Eason,
no,
Councilman Herring,
Let me just say, because of Ms. Smallwood's comments on what should be in the minutes, before I vote no, let me just say that I hope they're in the minutes because I can use these minutes when I talk to my attorney. So, no.
thank you, Councilman Herring. Councilwoman Smallwood,
No,
Councilman Williams,
To remove,
to remove that entire section where Richard Aurora made a statement.
no.
Councilwoman Wilson,
No.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
This is to remove it?
To remove that section, yes.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, my question is, okay, so it is, Ms. Smallwood said that a statement like that should not have been originally been in there anyway? Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
I mean, I know she said that, but I mean, so that is that, I mean, the details should not have originally been in there?
Correct.
Okay, well,
I beg to differ that, Miss. I beg to differ that.
Point of order, Mr. Williams, just a second.
I was asking for anyone that knows at this point. So I'm not sure, so I'm gonna pass.
Did you hear, Council Clerk?
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ferguson said she wanted to pass. I heard
Yes.
that, and then I asked your vote.
Oh, my vote is no, to have that removed, no.
So I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ferguson, I'm coming back to you.
Abstain. And the reason why I'm abstaining is because if it shouldn't have been in there, then it should be taken out. The reason why I said yes is because if it was going to remain, then it should be listed as it was stated. But if it's going to be, but if we can vote to take it out, I'm going to say.
You said abstain.
I'm abstaining, yes.
Thank you. I have 6 noes and 1 abstain.
Thank you, Council Clerk.
Mhm.
All right. Any other corrections to the minutes from council members? Please submit those to the Council Clerk that she may address those. Okay. All right, so now we'll move into the legislative part of our meeting. First piece of legislation is a charter resolution to amend Article 9 Personnel, Section 902, Clerk of the Council, for the purpose of clarifying the role of any deputy clerk to the council. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Council Clerk, would you give me a resolution number, please?
Order resolution 04.
I'm sorry, that's CR 04 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. That was-
I got a question. When did this come to, did this come to a public meeting? To a public
yes.
hearing?
Yes, it
The
is.
Well, it's not showing on the legislation.
I'll
Okay,
make that
Council Clerk,
notation. I will make that notation. It came to the last public hearing, which I believe was the 19th.
All of these legislations that I'm looking at, they are not showing when they came to a public hearing. So did all of these legislation come to a public hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
on the 19th, yes.
Okay, that need to be included on these resolutions and charter changes.
Thank you, Councilwoman Smallwood. All right, the next charter resolution to amend Article 4, the mayor, Section 404, powers and duties generally. Is there any discussion?
Yes, if I could remember.
Councilwoman Smallwood?
If I could remember correctly, I think Councilman Williams pulled this off the table. So I think this need to go back to another public hearing because it was pulled.
No, that was discussed at the last public hearing. It was the last thing on the agenda for the public hearing.
No, he pulled this, and the argument that we had about this piece of legislation was once it was tabled, it came off the agenda.
Madam President.
And
Councilman
I know
Williams?
I'm still speaking. And I know that at the end of the agenda, at the end of the meeting, you allow Councilman Williams to elaborate on this charter change, which was something that should not have taken place. So I think this charter change should be brought back to a work session, and I'd like to make a motion that it will. I'd like to get a consensus.
Second.
All right, there's a motion on the floor for consensus to have this come back to a public hearing. The motion was made by Councilwoman Smallwood, and the second was by Councilman Herring. Council Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Eason,
Pass.
Councilman Herring,
I'm gonna say yes for it to come back to another public hearing. It was taken off the table, and then to put it back on the table, you needed 5 votes, and you did not have the 5 votes to put it back onto the table. So yes to take it, yes for it to come to another public hearing.
thank you, Councilman Herring. Councilwoman Smallwood,
I'm gonna pass for right now.
Councilman Williams,
Boy, this was never taken off the agenda. It was tabled. So again, Madam President, I think we really need to have our parliamentarian, because people claim they know parliamentarian procedures that don't know. So it was brought back. We took a vote that night, and is back for a public hearing, and even a citizen made a comment about it. So with that I vote no.
thank you, Councilman Williams. Councilwoman Wilson,
I vote yes, that it should be brought back to the, for another public hearing, because Mr. Williams did table it. And so since there's a question about it, then I don't agree with the statements that he just made. And since there's a question about it, and we should wait until the next public hearing.
thank you, Councilwoman Wilson. You voted yes, correct?
Yes to, wait a minute, hold on. Yes, that it is tabled and it should go to the next public hearing.
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Ferguson,
From what I understand from when this was presented and it was taken off the table, and we needed 5 votes to bring it back on. Basically, I don't even think we got there because of the atmosphere of the meeting, the last meeting, which went away. So business wasn't concluded, so I would have to say bring it, it needs to come back to a public hearing.
thank you, Councilwoman Ferguson. Councilwoman Jones,
No, because when when Councilman Williams asked to have it, my understanding was that he wanted it to bring it near the end of he wanted to bring it back within that meeting at the end of the meeting so that he could review the legislation. So my answer is no.
thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Councilwoman Eason,
Pass.
Councilwoman Smallwood,
Yes.
we have 4 yeses and 3 nos.
All right, so this will come back to a public hearing. All right. The next piece of legislation is an ordinance to amend the personnel manual. This will be the second reading. And before we move on, okay, we were asking for this juncture. Now, I also have in the topics of discussion, the personnel manual. The administration has completed the personnel manual, meaning the human resource director, Ms. Schultz, and the city manager, and with the city attorney, they have completed the personnel manual. It was sent to all council members for your review. If you have any questions concerning what's been sent to you, also with the manual came a memorandum of the highlights of the changes that were made in that personnel manual. So I guess we can, that was part of my topics of discussion. If we want to ask the human resource person any questions concerning this, we can do this now. If we're going to vote on this next week, then you all need to review it so you can make sure that this is that you have no questions. If you feel like there's not enough time to review this personnel manual and the changes that have been made, then maybe we can table this ordinance. So is there any questions for the Human Resource
Council
Director?
President,
Councilwoman Smallwood?
I would like to get a copy of the red line. I was trying to follow the draft that was in my folder. I cannot see what was taken in and what was taken out. So can I get a copy of the manual with the red lines?
Ms. Schultz?
Yes, ma'am. We'll make sure you get it.
Madam President.
Councilman Herring?
Yeah, these are a lot of changes, and I think that we need to schedule another meeting to go over this to see what actually changed and what hasn't changed, because along with Ms. Smallwood, we got a copy that was not redlined, so we don't know what changed, what didn't change, and we shouldn't have to sit there and compare two books to see what has changed. I think it's a lot of, I mean, it's quite a few changes in here, and I think we need to schedule another meeting to discuss this before we jump on. I mean, because if we have any questions, again, we got to do it all through email, which is really constituting another meeting. So,
there was a memorandum submitted by the city manager with the proposed changes for the personnel handbook. You didn't receive that, or you don't understand that?
I got it, and I got it. It listed, but it's not saying what changed. I mean, he lists the topics, the chapters, but you know, it says, I mean, I want to see the change. I want to see, you can tell me anything, but I want to see what it says in the book. This is
Well, the memorandum,
see
I'm sorry. The memorandum, it says chapter 1, introduction, and then section 2, the purpose, it says the introduction paragraph changed for clarity.
Okay,
subsection
I'm
I
looking
was
at
deleted. I mean,
I'm looking at like section 14, mandatory overtime, incorporated section 15 for clarification, then section 15, section deleted section incorporated into section 14. We need to see what's going on here, because they're incorporating stuff, they're combining stuff, they're moving stuff, and we need to know what's what. And I need to see what's done. I need the red line copy, and I think we need to discuss this to see if everybody's on board with this. I mean, we shouldn't have to bring it to the floor on Monday. I mean, you still got time to bring it up at the next meeting to vote on it. You still got time for a second reading. I just think everybody needs to be clear on what the changes are. Again, we should have been given a red line copy originally, like we've been previously getting, not just a copy, and we got to sit there and compare two copies of personnel manuals to see what actually changes made. You know, stuff has been deleted and put in, and I mean, we need to see that.
thank you, Councilman Herring. Councilwoman Eason?
Yeah, I actually agree that we probably should have a separate meeting. I think it's good that the revisions have been documented, but usually, you know, you actually have a discussion about each one of those items so everybody can get an understanding. And like I said, I may have questions about a section, but I don't want to, prolong the meeting by, asking a lot of questions about this. So I would actually agree with having another meeting to specifically discuss this. Personnel
All
manual.
right,
I would-
all right, then. Okay, so we'll have polling and to come up with a day that we can come together in a meeting concerning the personnel manual. So this legislation can be tabled, or should it just, when you say we have time for it's for a second reading. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ferguson.
Council President,
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ferguson was trying to, I think, say something.
Sorry, I was saying if we tabled it, then would it have to wait until the next reading, or should we just? How would that work? Because I do agree that we should have a separate meeting, but I don't want us to do anything that would cause us to have to wait a whole nother round to bring it back.
Okay, so a second reading, I think, can be done within 30 days, if I'm not mistaken.
Madam President,
the second
Councilman
reading.
Williams.
if you have a second reading, then you generally will vote on it right after the second reading. So if you don't want to have a second reading and not vote on it, just table the legislation. I move that it be tabled till we have our next meeting on it.
Okay.
I second.
Good.
Okay, the motion's on the floor.
I have-
Councilman Williams, I'm sorry, just a moment, Council.
I think somebody need to ask the maker of the.
Just a moment, council people. Councilman Smallwood, just a second. Councilman Williams has a motion on the floor to table it until we've had a meeting. Councilwoman Eason has seconded that motion. Council Clerk, would you take the vote, please?
Can I ask a question before there's a vote taken, please?
Point of order,
Council,
Ms. Jones. Usually you have the motion, the second, and then any comments.
Discussion.
Before you
Right.
comments, discussion before you take
discussion.
any votes.
Councilwoman Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you so much. The piece of legislation that we have before us tonight is dealing with one aspect of the personnel manual. And it is dealing with the bullying policy or whatever. And so would that be, if we wait and incorporate the entire manual, revision of the manual, would that really be a second reading? Because we haven't had we would not have had a first reading of those other changes. I'm not sure if I'm stating it correctly or not.
The first reading was January 11, 2021.
That's dealing with this piece of legislation that we have dealing with the bullying.
No,
And
this is,
that's what I'm looking at, to amend the personnel manual. And it's only dealing with one section, one particular thing. So that would be the second reading. And my question is that if we were to incorporate this with the other portion of it, does it go back to a first reading? Is that what we're saying that we're going to do?
No, it's not. This is for the personnel manual, and it will include the bullying policy, because we've never accepted the personnel manual.
Council President,
Councilwoman Smallwood.
Council President, first of all, y'all should at least ask the maker if she would like to have this table. Second of all, Councilwoman Wilson is correct. I am not amending the whole personnel. I am only including the bullying policy. But if y'all want to make the adjustments and the revision that they were, that the HR person did and the city manager did. I don't have a problem pulling this piece of legislation, but then we had to go through the whole procedure as the first read again.
Point of order, Madam President.
Councilman Herring?
Actually, we don't, because we've done this plenty of times where we've had a first reading and we found things and we've amended the legislation before the second reading. And it was mentioned at the other meeting that there were other revisions that were going to be made in this personnel manual. So the first reading is just to review it and go through it and make any adjustments that needed to be made. So we really don't have to go through the whole first reading, second reading again. You know, because you got 60 days to vote on this. So, I mean, any changes we make, we're gonna, I mean, we should be able to discuss it by then and have another copy available for residents to see, red line copies. Because we've done it plenty of times where we've amended ordinances on the fly right before the second reading.
Okay. Can we take a
Madam
vote now?
President.
Councilman Williams, I'm sorry.
That is a true statement. You do not have to go back. It can be amended. And if the maker of that amendment does not want to amend it, then what we can do, if she don't want to amend that piece of legislation, then we create a new piece of legislation, which then would have to go, because that would be new. But so it's a friendly amendment to add on the total changes to the personnel board, so we'll have to keep going back and forth and doing it. So I just heard Ms. Smallwood said she had no problem with amending it. So
No, I said I have no problem. Excuse me,
Point of order,
Councilwoman,
Councilwoman Smallwood. Councilman Williams is still speaking. Councilman Williams,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
I would ask the maker officially of the resolution to have that friendly amendment by amending the entire section of the personnel manual to which the city manager and the HR director have worked on and proposed redlining and amending the personnel manual. Because yes, the personnel manual, the new one that was brought before us 2 or 3 years ago, has not been approved by this council.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm
For the
sorry.
order.
Just a moment, please. Councilwoman Eason was next. She had her hand
I
up.
was next, Robin.
No, Councilwoman,
I was next. You let
Councilwoman,
Hyde come in before me, and you told me just a moment, Councilwoman Smallwood.
point of order, Councilwoman Smallwood.
Yeah, I'll yield
Councilwoman
to her
Eason
so
had
she
her
can
hand
speak.
up. Thank you. She's yielding to
Okay.
you, Councilwoman Smallwood.
I'm going to pull this resolution, this ordinance, and we can start from the beginning. So I'm pulling this ordinance.
Okay, so the motion doesn't stand any longer, that the maker is going to, so for my clarification, that means you're tabling it or you're just pulling it and we're going,
I'm pulling it, so you have to start all over again. So there won't, no reason for a second vote. I mean, for a second reading.
all right.
Council President?
Councilwoman Wilson?
Yeah,
I'm
I just want,
I'm sorry,
sorry.
Councilwoman Wilson. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Wilson. Councilwoman Eason yielded to Ms.
and I'm
Smallwood.
sorry.
It's Ms.
You're right.
Eason.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, the only thing I was going to say is that we also included a telework policy in this personnel manual that wasn't in there before, because I know they were going to work on some clarification on that. But if Small was going to, if she's going to pull the ordinance, then that's fine. Maybe somebody else can bring it up.
No, the telework policy is in this manual.
Right, I know it's in there, but that, I know when we last discussed it, they were gonna do some additional research on it and elaborate on what they have in there now, because it wasn't in there before. It's in here
Okay.
now. But I may have some questions about it, which we had said earlier, we were gonna have a separate meeting. But I guess since she's
Okay, so
pulling
I'll
it,
po-
you know,
All right, so I'll poll for a meeting. Councilwoman Wilson?
Yes, I just wanted to thank everybody for the information because I was genuinely asking a question that I didn't know the answer to. So, and also, I think I agree that we should have a separate meeting on the personnel manual. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wilson, but we will poll for that meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, moving forward. The next resolution or legislation that's on the table is a resolution to authorize the purchase of tough books for the police department. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Council Clerk, would you give me a resolution number, please?
Resolution number R31, 2021.
Thank you.
What was the number again?
R31, 2021.
Thank you.
Okay. Next resolution is a resolution to authorize the purchase to outfit the police vehicles. Any discussion? Hearing none, Council Clerk, would you give me a resolution number, please?
R32, 2021.
Thank you. Once again, that's R32, 2021, a resolution to authorize purchase to outfit the police vehicles. Okay. The next resolution will be a resolution to authorize the purchase of 2 police vehicles. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Council Clerk, would you give me a resolution number, please?
R32, 2021.
Oh, I think we did 32 already.
I'm sorry, I think the last one was supposed to be R31. That's my error.
We did 32.
31 was the resolution for the tough books.
The tough books was 31.
I'm sorry. Council Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. The tough books is R31, 2021. I misstated. I said 32. It should have been 31.
Right, the tough books is 31.
Mhm.
The purchase to outfit the police vehicles is 32. And 33 should be to purchase 2 police vehicles. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Council President, can I get a copy
Just
of
a
that resolution?
Which resolution, Councilwoman Smallwood?
The purchase of the 2 police vehicles. It's not in my package.
Smallwood, I will offer you the resolution tomorrow. Would that be okay?
That would be fine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we're clear on the resolutions. 31 was for the tough books. 32 was to authorize a purchase to outfit the police vehicles. And 33 is to purchase 2 police vehicles. Okay, we'll move to the next resolution. A resolution to authorize the purchase of 2 in-car radios for the vehicles and 1 portable police radio. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Council Clerk, would you give me a resolution number, please?
R34, 2021.
All right, that's R34, 2021, a resolution to authorize purchase of 2 in-car radios for the vehicles and 1 portable police radio. Okay. That concludes our February legislation, and of course, the March legislation is on the agendas, which includes a walk behind power motor, another walk behind, a ride on power motor, then another ride on power mower, and then the independent auditor's report and a resolution for Magnolia Plumbing for the Martin Luther King site. All right. All right, we'll move on. The city manager's report, Mr. George.
Thank you, Council President. So you've got the report in front of you. I'm not going to read all the lines, but obviously onboarding has been an effort. I've met with, I think, all the council members, and I've had a conversation, at least one. Met with senior staff, started holding my regular senior staff meetings as well as my all hands meetings with the team. Working on the MLK site, Councilmember Smallwood and I met out there on site with CPJ and the BGE representative. We have a quote in order, and you'll all be looking at it next month for the close for the capping of the water and the sewer. I reached out to CBJ again today to talk about the electrical contractor. She's going to get me a scope of work for that contractor this week, and we're going to get that out right away, and hopefully we can get that on the March agenda as well, because we need both of those capped and tied off in order to execute the demolition contract. And I know that we're running out of time, so we're working as quickly as we can on that. The team is working on the FY22 budget so that we can have it to the mayor middle of this month, and have it prepared so that we can have it all to you in accordance with the charter in the first few weeks of April. We did the PPE preparation, as you all talked about. We're going to be handing that out hopefully Friday and Saturday, depending on the weather. Right now, it looks like Friday might rain. Saturday is going to be nice. We're going to make a go, no go decision on that probably Wednesday. We may have to split it. If it looks like it's going to rain on Friday, we might cancel the Friday date, but leave the Saturday date, because we would really love to get these PPE bags in the hands of our residents. If we have to cancel Friday, we'll reschedule Friday, so the residents will have 2 different opportunities to come and collect their PPE bags. And other than that, Council Member Easton was nice enough to let me join the web committee. So I've been attending those meetings and looking forward to that new website coming online in the spring. It's really starting to look good and take shape. That's all I have, and I'm certainly able to answer any questions. Thank you, Council President.
Questions from the council for the city manager?
Yes, Madam
Councilwoman Easton. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Easton had her hand up. Councilman
Okay.
Herring, just a moment.
Okay.
Okay. Question. The first thing, Mr. George, you said you needed to get the water and some capping done you needed to meet the deadline. What's the deadline where all these things need to be done? For site demolition.
I might defer that to Ms. Smallwood, because she has a better feeling for that, but I believe it's the end of the fiscal year is when the grant expires. But Councilmember Smallwood could correct me if I'm wrong, because she's seen that legislation. I can certainly look into the file, but like I said, my understanding was the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. If you can find out, you can just send me an email. Another question I had, you
Yes,
mentioned
ma'am.
the 2022 budget, you all are working on it, where you're going to be delivering it to the mayor in February. so that you'll have it to the council in, by the April 15th deadline. Is it possible, are you all, I know in the past, and granted you weren't here in the past, the budget was delivered either on the 15th, a couple of days after the 15th of April. Is it possible that the budget could actually be delivered prior to that April 15th deadline so that the council can, potentially move forward ahead of it, to be proactive, to move forward, to try to have all of the things that need to be done to approve the budget?
Well, yes, my internal deadline that I've talked to the staff and to the mayor about is to be finished with the budget at the end of March, so that we could deliver it to you all early.
Okay.
We will absolutely meet the 15th deadline, but my goal and my desire is to get it to you all early.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, with the PPE bags, is there a certain number? Like, I know you had it scheduled for Friday and Saturday. Is there a certain number that you're giving out on Friday, so that you won't run out if you're giving them out on Saturday? Or you just giving them all out? Like, I guess, is it possible that you could give everything out on Friday and not have anything to give out on Saturday?
Yes, that's possible, because what we're doing is we're using the list that the city clerk was nice enough to let us borrow, and it's a list of the residents and all the addresses. So what we will be doing is checking the names off of the residents that have picked up their bag. So if everybody swings by and grabs their bag all at once, but we will not be giving anyone a second bag until everyone has got their bag. And so we're gonna have two different stations, and we'll have two different lists, and we'll be checking off the names. And that's why we want to see an ID that either a government ID or a utility bill that shows your address in Glen Arden, so that we can check your name off.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I wasn't looking at somebody coming to get a second bag. I was making sure that if someone didn't come on Friday, but if they were coming on Saturday,
Right.
they would get their first bag.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They can come either day. We want to have a kind of a weekday session and then also a weekend, because some people work on the weekends, some people work on the weekdays, and we want to have a little flexibility for the residents.
All right, okay, and thank you. I got the card today and it looks very good. Thank you.
Great.
Council President, I have a
Now,
question.
Councilwoman Smallwood, just a second. I think Mr. Herring had a question for the city manager. He was next.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes, Madam President. Mr. George, that was my question about the cards, because I don't know anybody that has received a card as of yet. And I thought the cards were supposed to have been out like 2 weeks ago.
I have a card.
Well, I haven't gotten a card. Nobody on my street has gotten a card.
My neighbors have a card.
Okay, I'm asking the city manager.
Well, there was a delay. There's none. They went out last week, I believe, on Thursday. The Howard Taylor took them to the post office for us. We had an unfortunate delay that was not part of the planning. The gentleman that was producing the cards came out kind of 3 days late. He had a lot of other things going on, and it was not, when we originally worked with him and contracted, he was aware of our deadline, and he just unfortunately didn't get the cards to us in time. So we got them in the mail as quickly as we could, with the hope that everyone, if they haven't got them yet, they'll get them tomorrow. But again, we've put it out on all of the media sites. It's on the television channel. It's on it's on Twitter, and it's on the front of the website. So we've asked Council President to announce it at the last meeting or two, to try to get as much of our word out as we possibly can.
Well, announcing at the meeting isn't gonna do any good for the seniors that's not on cable. You have the same 31 people on there every month, and so those are the 31 people that's gonna get the information. But I just wanted to know, because like I said, I've been asking my neighbors and they haven't received a card yet. And I mean, if it's coming up on Friday. Also, you said you would have 2 separate stations and 2 separate lists. Well, how are you going to differentiate between who goes in which line? They're going to drive up, right?
The lists are identical. So the idea is that we'll have 2 identical lists, and then you can pull into either line, and we'll check you off. At the end of the day, we'll reconcile those 2 lists, and then we'll use them again on the next day. That way, if we have a heavy flow of people, we don't have a line. The one concern is we don't want to have a line of cars that stretches out onto Glen Arden and also onto MLK. So if we have two different tables of identical lists, we're not going to be separating the cars and sending to either table. They can go to whichever table, whichever line is shorter, and then we'll check them off. And at the end of the day, we'll just kind of sit down and compare them together and have one combined list, and then use that combined list on both tables the next day.
So somebody can go around and get back in line and hit the other line and get another bag if they wanted to. If they wanted to,
they could. And honestly, hopefully that doesn't happen. We have enough supplies that we've accounted for the fact that we didn't make exactly the exact number of bags we needed. We have extras. So if a bag rips, if it falls on the ground, if someone does circle back and get a second bag, we have enough redundancy so that everyone that comes through the line will get a bag.
Okay. Have you thought about using, last time when we had the grab and go, we used Google Docs, which allows shareable lists, and you can cross it off as you go through if you have a tablet. Have you thought about using that?
We did think about that. We don't have tablets currently. If we had some tablets, we might use that. Google Docs did come up. I'm a big Google Doc user myself. All of my stuff is in Google Docs. So that was something we talked about. And maybe next time we do something like that, we'll have some tablets that we can use. But right now we don't have that technology physically in the building.
So we don't have a laptop, tablet, nothing.
Well, we have laptops, but we don't have tablets. And at this point, we did this in such a hurry, and we did it in short order that there was concern about scaling through the pages and being able to find the names digitally, and just on hard copy. The group of us that met to talk about just how hard copy would be an easier way to do this list this time.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman
Yes, sir.
Harry.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Smallwood.
Mr. George, what have y'all put in place for seniors who's not able to come up to pick up their bags? There are seniors in the city, 70, 80, 90 with disabilities, and they will not be able to come and pick up. How you plan to get those PPEs to them?
Well, the plan was for that list of people, for either if a council member wanted to take those bags, they could do that. Or when we assemble that list of those individuals, the Public Works and or code enforcement would deliver those bags for those individuals. So that was the plan, that we would be able to deliver those bags.
So do y'all know who they are?
Now we'll need to make that list up, and we're hoping that we could understand from the council members and from others to reach out and let us know. If everyone gets the card, they can certainly call the office and say that they're not able to drive over, and we can put them on a list. That's why everyone was mailed a card, because we know that everyone doesn't look at the internet and everyone doesn't check the website or have access to these meetings. So the physical card has, a phone number that they can call if they have any questions about getting the bags.
Okay, I have not received a card.
I apologize. We put them all they were all given to the post office in the bulk mail. So if they didn't come today, they will hopefully come tomorrow. But they were all grouped together, and they were not. The way the mailing works is that we don't put addresses on them, so we didn't specifically address them to anyone. They go into the bulk mail, and then the bulk mail delivers them to all the Glen Arden addresses that are within the two zip codes. So it's all done by the post office, so they're not individually labeled.
Okay, and I did hear you say that we don't have laptops. We do have 2 laptops in finance, or we might have 1 laptop in finance. You need to check with Mr. Bratton, because I know the council had ordered a couple of years ago 2 laptops. And one I do know is in with Mr. Bratton because I used it about 2 months ago. So we do have laptops, so y'all can check with him to find out where the laptops are.
Well, yes, ma'am. We do have laptops. I was responding to the question, do we have tablets? Because we were thinking that tablets would be easier. They're handheld. We definitely, I mean, I have a laptop. I'm using my city laptop right now for this meeting. But honestly, and I completely understand Councilmember Herring, his suggestion. It's a very good one. We just felt at this point, with the time constraint we had, with everything we're trying to do to get these done as quickly as possible, even though it's old technology, that having 2 sets of lists and checking them off would be the quickest and easiest way to get this done. Next time we have a big giveaway, I agree 100%. Using the technology would be great. Whether it's laptops or tablets, we could do that. We just thought for this particular episode, this experiment, going hard copy, even though it's old school, might just be the easiest way to get it done.
Councilwoman Smallwood, are you done?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ferguson?
Mr. George, I received my card today. After I had a senior from the apartments call me and concerning the giveaway. So she definitely cannot come out. She doesn't drive anymore. So would I be able, I told her I was gonna check to see whether I would be able to bring her bag to her, and she offered to give me a copy of her electric bill. I mean, if we picking up for people, should we bring a bill or something? Or
Well, you could, but honestly, if a council member wants to pick up for a resident, for a neighbor, you don't have to bring the proof. We'll check that person off of the list, and obviously trust that you all are going to take it to them, so that's fine with us. So you don't have to get an ID or a bill from a neighbor. If you want to pick it up for them, just let us know who you're picking it up for, and we'll check them off as having received a bag. And if you want to take multiple, you can take multiple. We'll just check them off the list to show that they got their bag.
okay. Or unless they want to call, would it be, because they did ask, was it a number they could call to say, well, Ms. Ferguson is picking up my bag, or, but that's not necessary.
That's not necessary. If you all come in and just say that you're picking up, that's good enough for us.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and I had one other
You're
question. When was the City Hall clean, sanitized?
That was January 2nd, I believe. It was the last day of, I think it was a Saturday, while everyone was kind of on Christmas break.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
You're welcome.
All right, are there any other questions for the Councilwoman Eason? You're muted.
Is a code enforcement report part of the city manager's report?
Yes.
Okay, quick question.
It is.
I know some of these things happened before Mr. George got here, but I noticed that, and this is Mr. Thomas's report. He identified that on 12/15, he actually did network installation, perform installation, configuration, and diagnostics on the incoming city manager desktop phone. And then he also did cell phone activation, perform activation and Outlook 365 configurations for the new executive assistant work cell phone. So I guess my question is, should the code enforcement officer be performing these tasks?
Kind of yes and no. The main reason that he was doing that is at the time, he and the chief were the only two representatives of the city that were on the Verizon account. So Leah and I didn't have the authorization to talk to the Verizon folks to get things going. We have since changed that. So now Leah and I are both authorized users on that account. And Jerry was just really helping us out because, you know, in his former life, he was a telecommunications expert and knows these things quite well. So he was also helping us out to get them rolling. But no, that's not his main job description. But, you know, kind of under the other tasks as assigned, he was just being very helpful to get us up and running.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam President.
Councilman Harry.
Yes, Mr. George, one other question. You said if it rains, then you won't hand out, but we have like 3 20-foot long tents and a number of 10 by 10 foot tents also that we can actually put up out there in case there is bad weather. So you want to look at that also.
Well, yes, sir, we will. I maybe misspoke a little bit. I think what I was trying to say is we're gonna see how hard. I mean, if it's just kind of rainy or sprinkling or it's intermittent rain, we'll do it. I mean, if the weather's just calling for just a real downpour, because these are in paper bags and they could be miserable, we may decide not to do it. I think we're just kind of let and see how heavy a rain they're calling for, and also if it's raining really hard, then folks may not want to come out anyway. So, but yeah, we'll take that advisement, and we were aware that they're tents, and we'll certainly use those if the weather allows for it.
Well, I mean, I think you should put them up whether it rains or not. I mean, these have something so people can stand at it, because if it's cold out there, it's gonna be cold out there, and more than likely some council members may be out also. Okay,
very good point. Thank you, sir.
Mm. All right, thank you.
Council President?
Councilwoman Wilson.
Yes, I have a question for Mr. George. Mr. George, you have on here that in your report, you developed a COVID-19 notification policy. Can you kind of give me a little bit of information on that?
Yeah, and I'll let if Karen is still on the call, let her jump in. Well, when I got here, there was no kind of formal the way if an employee came down with COVID, or if they were exposed to somebody that had COVID, we didn't have a set. I mean, there's a lot of criteria there, but we hadn't really decided on a set criteria for who gets notified and when and how. And working with Karen, we kind of came up with some steps just so that we're more organized, so that the next time someone does get a notification from the state that they have been exposed or potentially exposed, we just have a better process internally for letting the people, you know, basically Karen does the contact tracing. We figure out who that person has come in contact with. We reach out to those people specifically to let them know. And it's just an internal policy, but we really hadn't written that down before I got here. So we wanted to have something that was kind of written down that we could follow. Karen, you want to add into that?
Okay, excuse me, as a follow-up to Tim's statement, when we had our closed door meeting, there was an issue that came up about how everyone didn't know that we had received notification. Since then, I developed an email, and it's happened for 2 employees. We've actually were notified by the state. To me, it was kind of late, but in one particular case, we were notified, the employee, and we were notified on the 12th that this particular employee had came in contact with somebody on the 6th. So I sent out an email to all the employees, letting them know that that an employee had received notification through contact tracing. And if any employee wished to have a COVID test, by all means, and I listed the places where they could go. For the one I'm using as an example, when it was time for the employee to return to work, per the state's guidance, we actually got an email from the state that said Joe Blow can come back to work with or without a test. He's passed X number of days. This particular employee did take a test and he was negative. Any questions?
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there any other council members have questions for the city manager? Okay, so we'll move on in the agenda. The chief of police report. I didn't see Chief O'Donnell on here. I guess Captain Jackson, are you sitting in for Chief O'Donnell tonight?
Yes, I am.
All right, sir. You're the chief of police report, please.
You have a copy of it. I don't really have too much to add to it other than we're going to be participating with the PPE giveaways on Friday and Saturday, and that our new officer will be starting on Monday, February the 8th.
All right. Participation and new officer on February 8th. Is there any questions for the concerning the chief of police's report
Yes,
from
Madam
the
President.
council?
Yes,
Councilman
Madam
Harris?
President. Yes, Captain Jackson, I noticed on Glenarm Parkway that the fire hydrant was knocked over and one of our crepe myrtles was run over. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know a whole lot. I know it was an accident. It was a single car accident. I think it was a female driver involved in that.
Has anybody got in touch with WSSC to make sure that that fire hydrant get up? Because that's right there in front of the apartments, and if the fire breaks out, we're gonna have a problem.
I'll double check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilwoman Ferguson?
I did mention that, Mr. Herron, to Mr. Thomas, last week, and he told me that he was going to check with the fire department and or the, or the, water company. So, I didn't, is it still, off? Did you notice it?
Yeah, it's still laying in the ground.
Yeah, it should have been taken care of. I mean, at least something, because it was last week. I hadn't been out out that way to see it, but I did see it and immediately reported it. And the little tree looked like somebody ran over it or whatever. So I did report it. So maybe you can check up on it, Mr. George. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ferguson. Any other questions for the concerning the chief of police's chief's monthly report from the council?
Yeah, I do have one other question. I'm looking at the chief's report. So, and maybe Captain Jackson can answer this. So, Captain Jackson, it says that the police agencies are in phase 1 of the COVID vaccination distribution plan. Have any of our officers been vaccinated? Do you know?
I think maybe 3 or 4 officers have gotten vaccination.
Okay, all right. Is all the other officers scheduled to get it?
We put out an email asking who wanted to get it, and most of them said no.
Oh, okay, all right. Thanks.
Mhm.
Madam President,
Councilman Williams?
may I ask the Captain Jackson a question?
Concerning
Yes.
the chief's report, yes.
Okay, Captain Jackson, good evening.
Good evening.
That concerns me. You said most or all?
Some of them said no.
Okay, give me give me numbers. Can you help me out? with
Well, I'll tell you, I said no.
Okay,
And the reason why I said no is because I've never had the flu or flu shot. So, I don't know. I don't have any symptoms of the COVID-19. So I don't know what I would be getting a needle for.
all right. Can you send me a text or give me information? I like to know the number And it's only because of the public safety. The reason why people are getting it is because to protect, and they're out here on the front line. And if they offer to get this, they should take advantage. Yes, it is up to them. And there are some places that are requiring public servants, frontline workers to get it, or they lose their job. Now, I'm not suggesting that here in Glen Arden, but there are some cities and some occupation jobs that are basically, hey, you got a choice. You get this or you lose your job because of coming in contact with the public and dealing with it. So I like to understand our officers, young officers. I heard what you had to say, those who don't want to get it. I'd like to know why, what's the reluctance? And maybe it could be an education, but I like to know how many officers don't want it and the reason they not want it. And then I come back and circle around and address it later.
All right, I can get you the names of the officers who did get it.
No, I just need to know who don't want it. Just don't,
Okay,
who don't want it and the reasoning why they don't want it. That's all. I just want to know and make an assessment. Is it an education campaign that they need to be educated, or they have something like you said, you know? So that's what I want, because when it's all said and done, they are out on the front line dealing with people and highly exposed to it. So if we can mitigate that and our risk management, then it's to our benefit. And if it comes down the line, and I'm just being proactive, like Ms. Easton says or something, our risk management, it comes down to paying out stuff. That's a question they're going to ask. Why didn't they, if something bad does happen, why didn't they get it? And what was the reason why not getting it? So we need to just have some documentation. So to protect ourselves in the future for those officers who choose not to want to get it. That's all I'm saying.
okay, I can get that information for you. I can speak to the individual officers and ask them their reason for not wanting to get the vaccination shot, and I can send it to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Madam President.
I'm sorry, just a moment. Councilman Williams and Captain Jackson, listening to the conversation, I understand Councilman Williams, your concern, but that's a fine line between HIPAA and asking somebody those questions. I think that question needs to be sent to Mr. Kopinski, the attorney, by the city manager before any information is divulged concerning that, as to what avenues we have as far as pursuing that. In fact, that's what the city manager, Mr. George, did when he created, and Ms. Schultz created the COVID-19 notification for the city of Glen Arden, because the attorney would be able to give us the information we need as to how close to the line of HIPAA that we can go concerning that. So I think that should be presented to the attorney as a question before we pursue that as a police department through the either the city manager and the human resource person. I understand your concern, but we still have to be mindful of the Privacy Act that HIPAA presents. Okay, now I heard two people talking. I think I heard Ms. Wilson and probably Mr. Herring. Ms. Wilson, Councilwoman Wilson.
Thank you. I was going to address the same issue, Council President, because we can't get into people's personal medical things. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilman Herring.
Yeah, and that was my same concern too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Mr. Councilman Williams.
I totally understand what you're saying. I'm truly aware of HIPAA, and I'm not asking them about medical conditions. I'm doing no more than what I've already done research on my other positions that I have. and asking an individual, a person, why they don't want to take it. They can answer the question. It's not invading their whatever. Okay. If they say they don't want it, they don't have to. We're not mandated. But asking that question is not violating their HIPAA. But you go ahead, no problem. I'm just move forward.
Okay. But I would ask the city manager,
If he was
Mr. George.
if he was mandating an answer, then you probably boarding the line.
Yeah.
But just informational purposes, no. But go
But
ahead.
getting their names also would be, to me, a violation of,
No, it's public. No, they're public employees, public record. This is everything we do is public record. That's public record names. And it's a choice. And like I said, it is a choice. But the issue is, I'm just saying that what if, I'm not going to take up much more time. Just go ahead, carry on. Just do what you said you're going to do.
I would ask the city manager and the HR person to address that. Just get the information concerning that so we can satisfy the councilman's concern.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other questions for the concerning the police chief's report? Okay, all right, so we'll move on from there to the city treasurer's report. Mr. Bratton.
City Treasurer's report includes a statement of revenues and expenditures for the month ending December 31st, 2020. Revenues and expenditures for December, we had revenues of $38,004 and expenses of $380,940. These activities resulted in a year-to-date total revenues exceeding the year-to-date total expenses by $1,259,578. The audit, we finished the audit. They'll be presenting the audit to the council this week and then to the citizens. And we've received an extension to February 28th to file a report with the state. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Bratton. Is there any questions from the council to Mr. Bratton? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on from there to topics of discussion. The first topic of discussion was the personnel manual, which we've already, that issue has been settled. Okay. The next topic of discussion is the Banner City application. I have to be transparent with the council members. I have not been attending the PGCMA meetings because we have had meetings when those meetings were conducted also, except for the last one. I had another meeting that I attended. So I know one of the stipulations for the Banner City is that we attend the PGCMA meetings, and I would ask the council members, they say you have to attend 5. If any other council members have been attending those meetings, and that if so, you can send me an email and let me know, and we can apply for the Banner City recognition again this year. Any questions concerning that? Okay. All right. Our next topic of discussion is the code book. We received the code book from Councilman Herring, Councilwoman Wilson, and Councilwoman Smallwood a couple of months ago. This was something that we was put in our mailboxes and was never discussed. And I understand now that Councilman Herring wants to put this in the PPE bag, but I had some questions concerning the code book. Number one, the one that I received doesn't have the correct seal on it. And then looking at the previous code book, I wrote all over this one, so it's kind of jacked up. But the previous code book only had 31 pages. And this new code book has 33 pages. So that means some things were added into this code book. Also, looking at the opening cover, it says, this is from the Glenarden City Council. As a council person, I believe that because we're a strong mayor, council city, that this should have in it from the mayor and the city council, and not just the city council, because we are one body, one government, one body. So with the changes that have been made since this code book comes out of our charter, part of our charter, with the there was a noise ordinance put in here also, and I don't think the noise ordinance, it should be looked at, and the whole ordinance should be put in, since we are following Prince George's County. There's some things in the code that we follow Prince George's County, such as animals, the noise ordinance, and those things should be identified as the county identifies them, so that we have the complete information as a citizen would know that this is the violation of the noise ordinance. This one just shows one paragraph concerning noise, but it was on the part that in the code book that was added in addition to the prior code book. So that's the concerns I have concerning this. And it's something that the council, I believe, should determine if are we ready to present this to the public?
Madam President. Go ahead, Ms. Wilson, Ms. Smallwood.
Council President, that booklet was given to y'all, and then that booklet was discussed in a work session. And the same concerns that one of the concerns that you had, Deborah Easton had, and she had made some corrections, and I think those correction has been made. You cannot put the whole section of the county codes in that book, because the section in reference to animal is so long, and you just can't do it. So you have to pick out what is needed for each individual municipalities and put it in there. The county code book says no animals should be in the no farm animals. So the most important thing about that was to the city of Glenarden is that no farm animals like goats and chicken would be in the city. So you can't put the whole rules and regulation in the code book. It's just too long. So that's why this is broken down as to how short they are. And as far as the similar, Deborah Eason had made that suggestion that we put the correct one on there, and I'm quite sure that was done. And she also made a suggestion that we put in the address and the telephone number on the front. So please don't say that the code book was not discussed, because that's not true. You're giving out false information. That's all I have to say.
Madam President.
Eason. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Eason. Mr. Councilman Herring.
Well, go ahead. Let Councilwoman Eason go.
Well, before you go, Councilwoman Eason, I just wanted to say this. In looking at the county's book, they don't have, it's just a small book, and they were able to put the correct for animals they were able to put the information in there in Spanish and in English, and it didn't take up the whole book. That's, you know, and since we do, the charter does say we follow the county when it comes to animal control. I don't see any reason why it couldn't have been put in there. Councilwoman Eason?
Yeah, correct. I did mention that the front cover of that code book didn't have the city's address and everything. But then where's the copy where the corrections were made? Because the attachment to the meeting had the same, it didn't have the corrections.
Attachment to the meeting.
The attachments to this work session, it had code book, and it didn't have, you know, the same items that I mentioned on the front page, like the city's address, contact information. It's not on that attachment.
Councilwoman Jones sent out that attachment. I didn't give her that attachment.
Okay, so where's
The
the copy that has the corrections? You all are saying that the corrections are
I
made.
didn't give any attachment because I don't have the only book I have is this one.
There was an attachment that was sent out.
Tony has
It
Go
was an
ahead, Ms. Eason.
There was an attachment that was sent out with the work session package. And when I looked at that attachment, the first page wasn't correct. And it didn't have the seal and it didn't have the address. So maybe somebody sent the wrong document or something.
Because as soon as you mentioned it, I had Tony give me the new seal, and which was put on, and I put in the address as well as the telephone number for the city in the front, I think it's the second page, page 2. And my thing is that we had a meeting on 12/7 and we discussed it, and you brought up your suggestions, which we listened to and made the changes for it. So for Ms. Jones to then say we didn't have any discussion on it is not true. 12/7. Anybody, when we get the minutes for December, you'll see we had a discussion on it and the suggestions were made. You know, so there was a discussion on it. And my thing is this book is really just for informational purposes. People can and it has the code in there for the general code, web address that they can go to if they want to get more information. They want to put up more information on codes, because we can't put everything in there. It's really just some of the things that are violated most. That's why we put in there the chapter section of the code book that you can find the complete code in. That's what it is. It's an informational book. You know, now you have to go to the code book and go to general code if you want to get more information and more codes and more detail. And even then, when you go to our code book, you still got to go to the county code to where we follow the county on those issues. So this is just for informational purposes, and to sit there and hold it up for things that we've already discussed, I think it's terrible, because the citizens need this information. Citizens need to get this information out, and we're trying to put this information out. As for this is not a strong mayor weak council form of government. I don't know why you keep on saying that. That's not the way the city was set up. I'm not going to get into that argument. But again, this information needs to go out. I included the council. I was trying to do include everybody in it as a project so they can see it's coming from the council. But if that's not what you want to do, then what I can do is I'll just put mine, Ms. Smallwood, and Ms. Wilson's name on it, and we'll send it out like that. But I was trying to include everybody.
Just a moment, Councilwoman Eason, but you just can't put your 3 council members on there, because these are the ordinance. Excuse me, Councilman Herring. These ordinances that you're citing are ordinances that have been put into, after you read the charter, then these ordinances come up in the charter. So this is a city initiative, not just 3 council members initiatives. And the only issue that I had with the code book, when you all, like I said, yes, it was presented in a work session, but instead of coming to the work session prepared with the book so that we council members could see it before the work session, you stuck it in our mailboxes and told us that it was there. So to me, a complete discussion concerning it, how could we really discuss things that we didn't have our hands on or hadn't had an opportunity to review? That's my only concern with that.
You had the book for 3 years.
Councilwoman Eason, point of order, Mr. Herring, Miss Councilwoman Eason is now has the floor.
Okay, my apologies.
Councilwoman Eason.
I'm looking at the attachment that was sent, and it does have the new seal, but and I see that address was on page 3, but once again, I thought that the address should be on page 1. But, you know, so the new seal is on there, but I thought the address should be on page 1 and not on page 3. But if it's in there, as long as someone knows where it is. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman Eason.
Madam President,
Okay. Councilman Herring.
you cannot tell me what I can and cannot send out to the citizens in this community as an elected official. I can send out any information that's out there for them. All of this is public information, and I can give it to them at any time in any way I feel I want to share it with them. You do not have that authority, and you need to stop trying to take authority where you don't have it. As a matter, and like I said, you had the code book for 3 years and did absolutely nothing with it. Now all of a sudden you want to pick it over. You did nothing with that code book,
No.
except for did a cover. And then that didn't even have a city seal on it. So now you want to pick and micromanage what we're trying to do. As a council member, I can do any project I want to do. A number of council members have sent out proclamations and they didn't get with the city seal and a stamp. And there was no discussion on it. There was no votes on it. There was no nothing. They sent it out, and they should have a right to send it out as an elected official. They've shared information with citizens. They've shared resolutions and charter resolutions and budgets with citizens. This is information for the citizens. And if you don't want to give it to the citizens, like I said, I'll be more than happy to say this is a project for 3 council members, and that's what we did, and that's what we're trying to get you. Because I'm not going to go round and round with you and you try to hold up this process.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. I'm not trying to hold up the process. I just want to make sure that things are done correctly, not just throw something out there and say that, you know, this is the, and it'll be like the commercial parking resolution that was presented. If the council, can we take a consensus as to whether the council feels that this publication is ready to be distributed to the citizens? Council Clerk, would you take a consensus, please? As to whether
Yes,
the
ma'am.
code book is ready to be presented to the citizens. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Give me one moment to find a polling sheet. Councilwoman Eason.
A question, I think I had asked this when we did discuss this, how is this document, is it just going to be printed off on the printer?
Yes, we're going to do it in-house to save costs.
Okay,
The print folds and staples booklet style. You know, the copier.
okay. And just like what you gave to us, black and white?
I want it to be in color, the seal and everything to be in color.
Okay. All right, I would say yes on one condition, if someone please make sure the pages are not crooked from printing, because I've seen a lot of documents where the pages are crooked, and it may be the fact that someone's just not pushing the bars to align the paper in the printer. So if someone can please make sure, because you know, any document we hand out to citizens is a representation of this city. So I would say yes.
Councilman Herring.
Yes.
Councilwoman Smallwood.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
Yes, and I would like to add to my yes, to piggyback on Ms. Eason, that pride be taken into assembling these packages, properly stapled. Well, you said the staples come from the machine, but definitely they be on the paper and not crooked. I've seen projects where they were not acceptable. Yes.
Thank you.
I've seen them leave like at 4:30.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Ferguson. Councilwoman Jones.
Yes, as long as, like I said, the presentation is exemplary to be sent for the citizens, I'll agree with this.
Seven. Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. 7 yeses.
All right, we'll move on from that. The next topic of
Council
discussion,
President,
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ferguson.
excuse me, Councilman Herring, so your intention is to have this ready to for this to be put in the packages, in the PPE packages?
That's my intention. That way we'll save on mailing costs.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. That's saves the cost. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so we'll move on with the topics of discussion. Good trash, Mr. Herring. Okay, good trash.
Yeah, basically, I just want to address an issue a statement that was made last week about good trash, and we're not having any meetings on good trash in regards to that $90,000 that was paid. We actually had a number of meetings on good trash, and actually even had the attorney involved in it who sent an opinion on it, saying that we could pay good trash because we budgeted that money in our budget, and the invoices came up almost $45,000 short each year. That's why we ended up owing them the $90,000. So we did have a number of meetings with good trash, and so that was not an accurate statement that was made last week, that we didn't have any meetings with about good trash. And I just wanted to clear that up because that was misinformation right there.
Thank you.
With that.
Council President. Okay, the next item on the topics of discussion is the mayor's censure. Mr. Herring.
Yep, and again, a statement was made last week about we did censures willy-nilly all over the place and everything else. We've done 5 censures since we've been in office, and it was like 1 per year. So we have not been doing censures all over the place willy-nilly, and each censure had backup and documentation to support the validity of the claim that was being made. So I just wanted to clear that up also.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Okay, the next topic of discussion is letter to citizens. Councilman Herring.
Yeah, that is the letter to citizens that Mr. Richard Montgomery addressed last week, which really gets to me because he made accusations that weren't true. We sent out a letter to the citizens about what was going on in the city of Glen Arden, which we have an absolute right to do. He made the assumption that we use city funds. Him, along with Mr. Beckles and Mr. Ricky Montgomery, have all stated that we did. It sounded like we did something illegal. We did this, we did that, and that is the farthest thing from the truth. As a matter of fact, I paid for the stamps, I paid for the envelopes, I paid for the paper, and I printed them at my house, which I have every right to do. I have a right to send out any information on letterhead, on city letterhead, as long as I'm an elected official. I can send out anything I need to communicate with the citizens on city letterhead. And that's all that letter was doing, was communicating to the citizens. For him to sit there and make that accusation is completely wrong and false. You know, so to put out there that we spend city funds on this, no city funds were spent on this. And that's for him saying that we lied about him and in closing of Glen Isle Parkway. He stated on Facebook a couple of times that he was in support of Glen Isle Parkway closing. As a matter of fact, he was the one that supported. He was the one that suggested getting legal services to make the road private and gate it off. Now now my thing is, you're going to sit there and put that on Facebook and think no one's going to see it, and then going to call somebody a liar because they repeat what you said. I have a problem with that because no one lied about what he said. He said it. I got the printed copy of it that he said it. So all of these accusations that he's making and getting all flustered and frustrated and aggravated and everything else is ridiculous.
Thank you,
Absolutely
Councilman.
ridiculous.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. The next topic of discussion is telework. Councilwoman Wilson.
Yes, I would like for the council to agree that to the council clerk teleworking for the virtual meetings, since they are held at night, because I'm concerned about safety. And there are other city employees who are teleworking from home, doing the virtual meetings. And there are, and we are teleworking. I mean, we are at home with our virtual meetings. So I'm just asking that the council will allow the council clerk to telework for the virtual meetings
Thank you, Councilmember.
from her home.
The telework policy is in the personnel manual. We'll, when we have our personnel meeting for the book, we'll discuss that then. I'll bring it again.
Well, Council President, I would like for the council to agree that she can telework, because I don't think that we need to wait until we get approval of discuss the personnel manual and then wait until it's passed and all that, because I think that we as a council, because since she works for us, we'd be able to say yay or nay. And it's a thing of other council, councils, council clerks are teleworking. I'm only asking for, not for every day, I'm asking for the virtual meetings, that she be able to telework from home for the virtual meetings, because I don't see the reason why she should have to be at the town hall. I really don't. And you have city employees who are at this meeting right now who are, I would assume that you would call it them teleworking from home, because it's required that they be at the meetings. So if they are city employees and she's a city employee, why can't the council just say that she can telework during the virtual meetings, since she's required to be at the virtual meetings as well?
Councilwoman Wilson, there's no telework policy in the city of Glen established yet. And then until that's established, then we will move on from there. It has to, I'm sorry, I'm speaking right now, Councilwoman Smallwood. And until that policy is established, and it's a policy that will be for all of the city employees, I don't think that we can sit here and even though the fact that I understand that she's in the city hall, I'm also in the city hall. We're not in city hall today because of the weather condition, which you would call a situational telework issue. The situation is I'm sorry, Councilwoman Wilson. When I finish, I'll acknowledge and let you know.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I just said and that was it. Please go on.
Okay. Well, like I said, until the telework policy is established, I don't think that that the council should vote on that as of yet.
May I speak now?
Councilwoman Wilson.
Thank you. So the city manager is he working now, or he's not working now?
He doesn't get compensatory time. He's not working.
He's required to be at the meeting.
Yes. Just
okay,
like
so
as council persons.
Excuse me. I was speaking. I'm sorry. But he is a city employee. The chief works. He's required to be at the meeting, whether he gets compensatory time or not. The point is that he's required to be at the meeting. So, but he's attending the meeting from home, the virtual meeting from home. The treasurer is attending the meeting from home. Ms. Schultz was required to be here. I assume she was required to be here, whatever. I don't know, but she's attending the meeting from home. And so I'm just saying that because of for safety reasons and that kind of thing, for virtual meetings only, I'm asking that the council decide to allow the council clerk to attend the virtual meetings from home, especially if they're held at nighttime. It's different if they're held during the daytime. Neither one of you need to be at City Hall. You can be doing the virtual meeting from home. That's all I'm saying. So I would like for the council to make a decision on that.
I think that we should discuss that in a personnel meeting because there's some issues surrounding why I don't want her virtual meetings held at her home.
Council President,
Councilwoman Smallwood.
I am in agreement with Councilwoman Wilson. As long as we have COVID-19 and the majority of us are at home and we are safe, we're away from people, coming out that building at night, 9 and 10 o'clock alone, it's not safe. It's not safe for a young lady or a man to come out that building. And I would like to put a motion on the floor to get a consensus that the council will allow the council clerk to work from home while we doing COVID-19 for virtual meeting only.
I believe that that's a personnel issue that we need to discuss before we do that.
Is the motion and a second on the floor?
Who did the second?
I did the second.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
Just for clarity, is this not a personnel issue? I thought that when we get into personnel, it's not supposed to be discussed it's supposed to be discussed in a closed meeting.
Yes, this is a personnel issue. That's what I'm saying, that until we have our meeting again with we can do it in a closed meeting when we discuss the personnel manual. It shouldn't be discussed. It's a personnel issue because I'd like to bring up my issue with why I don't have, and the police officers are out there when we leave. So why we don't have, why she's working from City Hall before we determine, make a vote or take a consensus or take a vote as to whether she should be teleworking.
Okay, because my concern was not necessarily why or whatever. It's more so whether we were violating any rules or anything like that. I mean, even if we have to call for emergency meeting just for that, I just don't want to participate in something that, I mean, I've in previous meetings, issues concerning personnel or employees were abruptly stopped because that was a personnel issue.
I agree.
So I'm thinking, in my opinion, that's a personnel issue and it should be discussed at a separate meeting. And I personally do not agree with a consensus being taken because it's a personnel issue and other matters have been abruptly stopped before. So that's just my opinion. I'm done.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ferguson. Councilman Herring.
Madam President, this is not a personnel issue. This is a policy issue. Either you are or you are not going to allow the council clerk to do the same thing that the chief, the city manager, the city city treasurer, and other city employees to do is work from home during these meetings, like everyone else gets to do. So either you're going to vote for the policy or you're not. It has nothing to do with her or
there's no telework
anything
policy, Mr. Herring, and I think that we should wait until we have a closed personnel meeting to discuss this.
Madam President, I'm speaking. So if there's no telework policy, why is the rest of the staff at home teleworking? Because the charter requires them to be at the meetings.
What staff is that?
So why are they at home?
Ms. Schultz and Mr. George came in for a meeting. They were there for a meeting a couple of weeks ago. They were in City Hall. I don't.
Stop playing these little games. They were there for a meeting.
Point of order, Councilman Herring.
No,
Councilman
Ms. Jones,
Herring.
I had the floor, you cut me off. You cut me off. Ever since we've had virtual, ever since we had virtual, they have been working from home. And I have not seen them. So I'm not sure what you're talking about, because basically the employee, she's an employee and she should be, and this is not a personnel issue. We're not talking about her performance or anything else. We're just saying, are we going to give her that, are we going to extend that policy to her, the same policy that we extend to the rest of the staff?
And she's not management either. Councilwoman Ferguson.
Okay, I can accept this being a policy matter. So I'm like I said, I wanted clarity on it. I was kind of asking a question, but the next thing is the fact that we do not have telework, a telework policy in place. I know that when we first, when they first went home from during March, that was like a special administrative thing because we didn't have telework. But my question to I guess those that are working, I'm thinking that are they actually teleworking is paid, is a paid performance. I don't know whether Mr. George and Bratton, Jackson, the chief, and Ms. Schultz are actually just on their own time and not claiming comp time or consider themselves as working. That's the question. They may be participating, but they may not be claiming any work time. Especially in management. Oftentimes managers don't get comp time or whatever, such as that. How would we go about, I mean, is she's going to do the same thing? Or I don't know. I guess we need to understand what's going on with that. Because right now I think she's getting comp time for extra time.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ferguson. And also we just redid her position description, and that it includes that she would be working nights. There was no issue when we were coming to City Hall. And like I said, when we're in City Hall, I'm there most of the time too. We're just not there tonight because of situation being a weather event.
Council President.
Councilwoman Smallwood.
You just referenced her new job description. Those job descriptions got to come to the full council for a vote. You just can't change a job description without the council voting on it. Those job description has not came to the council for a vote. Half of the council probably haven't even seen them all.
Councilwoman Smallwood, Ms. Schultz, when she first came on board, started doing desk audits for each employee, and none of that was ever brought to the council to vote on when she did the desk audits on those. So I don't understand what
desk audit and rewriting a job description is two different things. So if she's gonna rewrite a job description, and I said this to Ms. Schultz before, you have to bring it to the full council for the full council to give their approval.
And that's in what part of the charter?
Hold on, and I'll go get it for you. But a full,
okay.
but a desk audit is totally different. The council.
Councilwoman Smallwood, while you're looking for that, can we let the HR person, Ms. Schultz, weigh in on this? And this will be the last person to weigh in on this.
Excuse me, Council President.
Point of order, Ms. Councilwoman Wilson. I have already acknowledged Ms. Schultz just to speak. Please don't interrupt.
No, you made a statement.
Ms. Schultz.
Okay.
President Jones, that's fine. Ms. Wilson can say what she needs to say.
All right, Councilwoman Wilson.
No, you said this is the last statement that we're gonna weigh in on this. What are you speaking of? Wait on talking about what Ms. Ms. Smallwood and Ms. Schultz are talking about, or talking about what I'm talking about?
I'm saying that this is a personnel issue and we need to bring it to a closed meeting like we do all personnel issues.
Well, there was a motion on the floor and it was second.
On
I
a
think you
personnel
have to.
issue, no. Ms. Schultz?
I'm not really sure what Ms. Smallwood is talking about, because I had to take another call real quick. But when I did the desk audits, I had every employee, including the council clerk, weigh in on the information. I showed that to the former council president, and then COVID hit and it went like everything else by the wayside. So I'm not sure what I missed or didn't do regarding the desk audit.
Are those desk audits completed?
Yes, ma'am. And actually, not only is the council clerk's completed, we met with the council clerk and she made her changes, which were not major, and we concurred with her changes and finalized it based on what she wanted. The few words to change. It was nothing major change, but just a couple of adjectives, pronouns, da 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 da. But it wasn't anything major changed when we had our meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Schultz. Like I said, as council president, I believe that this is a personnel issue and that we need to discuss this in a closed session, possibly when we discuss the personnel manual. And we're going to move on from here. And the last thing on this topic of discussion is the web. I'm not accepting those.
Motion and a second on the floor. You cannot deny the motion and a second on the floor. You got to call for the
It's
vote.
a personnel issue, Mr.
It is not a personnel issue. It's a policy issue.
On a personnel issue.
It is not a
There's
personnel
no
issue.
policy saying there's telework. There's no telework
You don't have to have a
policy.
policy to say there's telework. There's a pandemic in place. There's a motion and a second on the floor.
We're
Whether
moving
you
on,
want to vote,
Council.
you need to call them.
We're not going to vote on that, Councilman Herring.
You
It's a
have no choice
personnel
but to-
issue.
but to call for the vote.
We'll
You have no
vote
choice
on
but
it
to call
then.
for the vote.
No.
No, you have no choice but to call for the vote on it right now.
Councilman
The motion
Herring.
and the second is on the floor.
Councilman
Councilwoman
Herring.
Johnson, the council president doesn't give you ultimate right to say what can and cannot be voted on.
Point of order,
As the
Councilman
council
Herring,
president,
I
you
will
are
put you
supposed
in
to
the
lead
waiting
as a
room.
council.
When you calm down, I'll bring you out of the waiting room. The next topic of discussion is the webmaster.
Once
We
again,
have a
Madam
website coming.
President, like I said, you better put me back on that meeting.
The next topic of discussion is the webmaster. We have the website coming on board. Councilwoman Eason is getting very close to getting that website up with the committee, and we need to have a webmaster in place. The city manager has asked that we do a budget amendment for to bring, because the salary for the webmaster was not put in the budget. So we need to bring on a webmaster and we need to do a budget amendment. I'm wondering, can we have some discussion on that? Councilwoman Eason?
Yeah, just for clarification, during our budget meetings, several of us, including myself, did mention that a webmaster position should be included in the budget. I guess it was some type of oversight that a salary was not included in the budget for a webmaster. In my discussion with Mr. George, basically what he's trying to do is get the current website current with the webmaster in place, but also the person would be doing social media on the other city social media sites And then that way, they can get up to speed, you know, with the current site, and then it'll be a transition to the new one. So that's why I think that not having it in the budget was an oversight on someone's part. But a salary should have been included in the budget that we just passed in December. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. George, did you want to weigh in on this?
Well, I just agree with what Councilmember Easton just said. The budget that was passed had a salary described in parentheses by the title of the job, but for whatever reason did not have an actual number in the line item itself. So what we did is we simply took the hourly rate that was in the budget that you all approved and turned that into a number that will get us through the end of this year. And if we can do that budget amendment, then we can go ahead and get that position put out in the newspaper, and we can get someone hired. Because as Councilmember Easton stated, when the new website is done, they're going to migrate everything from the current website into the new website. The current website, as you all know, is basically empty. The council page has a lot of good stuff on it. Tony's done a good job with that. But a lot of the other parts of the page are still missing. And we really need help to get the rest of that site filled so that we can migrate it to the new site. And also, when we get the new e-newsletter up and running, the emailer, the new webmaster media specialist is going to be in charge of that newsletter as well. And that'll be very helpful for the residents that don't have web access but might have email access. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to admit Mr. Herring back in. Okay, can we get maybe a consensus on to do the budget amendment? I think it's going to require 5 votes by the council. Councilwoman Eason.
Do we have a copy of the description and the salary?
We do, ma'am. Karen has finished that, and we're more than happy to send that out to the council. We can do that tomorrow.
So is this something that we need to discuss once that information is distributed? Councilwoman Eason.
Well, another component to that is whatever the cost is for the remainder of the fiscal year, that has to be adjusted in the budget, you know, to identify where those funds are coming from. But now that I think of it, since we haven't had a deputy clerk for half a year, maybe some of those funds could be used based on how much this person's salary is going to be for the next few months. You see what I'm saying? Since we had salary in there for a deputy clerk part-time, but since we don't have a deputy clerk, I believe it was like $22,000 for the whole year. So even if you look at half a year, that was $11,000 that has not been used, even though it's more than that. But once again, since I don't know how much this webmaster would cost full-time for the remaining months of the year, you may need to do an adjustment, but that's a question for Mr. Bratton. Once we get the information regarding the description of the job, the amount of the salary, and where in the budget would that adjustment be made? That would be my recommendation.
Okay, so is this something that we might need to discuss also when we do the personnel manual?
That's on Wednesday, right? That's the audit meeting?
No, the audit is Wednesday. The audit is Wednesday. I have to take a poll to get to find out availability for to do the personnel, and I will do that immediately.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine with me. Thanks.
Okay, any other council members concerning the webmaster and the budget amendment? Okay, so we'll have a meeting for that. All right. Once again, to the citizens that are on here, this is the flyer for the PPE, the postcard concerning the PPE. Once again, that will be held on Friday, February the 5th, weather permitting, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Saturday, February the 6th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And identification will be required. Hopefully those citizens that have not received their notification of the PPE distribution will receive that sometime this week. And with that said, it is now 9:09. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you. Good evening.